Artificial human number 17 and Goku have gone toe-to-toe in having to fight each other to now having to work together in order to fight off a common enemy as unknown space invaders appear, in which threaten 17's forest alongside the entire planet as a whole, as Goku and 17 battle together in order to prevent the space invaders from further causing any damage. What's going on, Dragon Ball fans? Welcome to my Dragon Ball Super episode 87 review entitled Hunt the Poachers, Goku and Artificial number 17's United Front, leading into next week's exciting episode of Dragon Ball Super episode 88 starring Gohan and Piccolo. Gohan having to train to become the strongest he can possibly be before the Tournament of Power begins. So a quick plug before we begin, in case you guys are not following me at Twitter, be sure to go ahead and head over to UnrealEntGaming on Twitter and hit that follow button. That way you guys are always in the loop with all the latest in Dragon Ball news, information, and content. And don't forget to go ahead and subscribe to the channel in case you guys are new for all the latest in Dragon Ball reviews, discussions, mod battles, and more. Tons of awesome content on the channel. And if you guys want to go ahead and keep up with all the latest content, go ahead and turn on notifications if you guys want to become a Super Saiyan God. It greatly means a lot to me that you guys support the channel, and I thank you guys for tuning into the video. Now, Dragon Ball Super episode 87 is now officially in the history books, and having to see Goku and Android 17 work together after having to fight each other in last week's controversial episode, in which many people in the community were kind of torn between the whole concept of Super Saiyan Blue Goku having to keep up with Android 17 and 17 having to hold off Super Saiyan Blue, even though Goku was holding back. In this episode, we got something quite different. So we start the episode off exactly where we left off, with of course Goku having to talk to Android 17 about the Tournament of Power, in which Goku does bring up the idea that the end result of the Tournament of Power will result in the Dragon Balls having to be given, the Super Dragon Balls, mind you, and 17 seems to be really impressed by this idea of these super massive Dragon Balls, and Goku is really trying to be persuasive. And the first thing I do want to say is the overall animation, the shading, just the overall presence of having Goku and 17 in the nighttime next to this bonfire was pretty cool, in which we do see how Goku mentions the Super Giant Dragon Balls, and we see them up in space, with 17 having to be intrigued by the idea of having the Dragon Balls be given to him and having to grant any wish he wants. And we see how beautiful the nighttime space is, and then out of nowhere we see how the Minotaur interrupts their conversation, in which Goku is desperately trying to convince 17 to join. Obviously enough, he's going to join, but as quickly as it came, we notice that the sky begins to turn really dark, even in the nighttime, as we see something approaching the island. Now, this is an island where 17 guards this place really defensively, and then we have this massive UFO show up, and to 17 and Goku's surprise, it came out of nowhere and it's beginning to abduct all the animals on the island. That includes tigers and bears, and it's taking all the animals up in the ship. And you have to look at it from 17's point of view. He didn't want to allow that to happen, in which he charges at the spaceship as Goku follows him, and they both, they're about to enter the ship, and we see how the ship just like casually just goes about its own business, and 17 and Goku stop there. Obviously enough, you have to look at it from this way. If you're 17 and or Goku, what would you do? In which case, Goku suggests using instant transmission, in which they arrive in the ship, right? And you see like all these boxes and these crates all around, and Goku teleports them inside before the ship escapes into space, and 17 warns Goku not to break the spaceship while fighting. Meanwhile, we see that they're observing things, and there's a camera that catches onto them, and we see like these alien guards trying to come after both 17 and Goku. For the time being, Goku went really hard in throwing like 4 of them out of the way by just pushing them into the wall, in which 17 did say don't destroy the spaceship, because if you do, the animals are going to get hurt too. So we see 17 and Goku working together, which I thought was perfect. And then we cut to Krillin, and Krillin is there with his daughter. They're painting, they're doing all sorts of stuff, which again, I don't really mind considering the fact that we just saw Krillin having to have an epic showdown with Son Goku not too long ago. And we see how 18 tells Krillin that she thinks that 17 and Goku are both very childish and are probably goofing around or whatever. And we go back to the spaceship, and this is just a joke to me. I mean, having these space invaders trying to challenge the powers of Goku and 17, it was a joke to me, because having a look at what both 17 and Goku can do, this reminded me of the episode with Wadagash, with Gohan having to take up his movie role, and then you had like this alien parasitic organism attack. It was very similar to that. They're trying to fill in time, but I'm theorizing that the only reason why they're doing that is because they're trying to perfect and really work on the animation and the overall episodes for the Tournament of Power. In case you guys have not seen my episode spoilers, you guys can go on ahead and check that out for episodes 88 to 92. But then we see 17 go off, and he's trying to get to the main source of the spaceship, and it's like this ugly greenish like dinosaur who like seems to have like this hologram of one of the minotaurs, you know, at his disposal. He's looking at this and he's saying to himself, you know, how valuable it is to him. And the alien poacher boss is very happy that they finally captured the legendary minotaur. It's almost as if like it's a Pokemon to him. And we see how 17 comes on in and he says, let the animals go and you'll live, which I thought was pretty cool because he threatened him. And this alien monster dude, he reminded me of like an enemy from like Spyro. He just looked so ugly and very like unintimidating. So 17 is there, he's telling him, yo, release the animals or I'm gonna mess you up. Now, one thing I do want to point out is I really like the animation for this episode. I don't know who exactly is the animator or the executive producer for the animation in this episode, but it was well done, very solid. Every single shot, I would say, looked very good. The coloring, the texture, and going back to the boss, we saw how he snapped his fingers and like these bodyguards showed up with swords. And again, this is nothing but a joke because considering that 17 just fought Super Saiyan Blue Goku, you have to ask yourself as to where these aliens stand in trying to fight off 17. It just didn't make any sense to me. So 17 is challenged, but 17 asks as to why they're after the Minotaur, in which of course they announce that they're in it for the money. So they're in it for the money, of course. Apparently it's worth a lot of money when you want to bring this animal to other planets. So they're kidnapping and they're taking planets from Earth just to sell them elsewhere. And we see how the guards attack 17. Again, as I pointed out, it was very effortlessly done because 17 was just like one-shotting these dudes. Even though they were attacking him with these swords, 17 was a pure badass in this episode. And I love how the boss was like kind of fearing for his life because he had so much confidence in those fighters that pretty much charged 17. And then he pulls out some sort of a knife and 17 kicks this dude so hard against the glass. It was proven in this episode that 17 is just a pure badass. If anything, he's one of my favorite characters right now because just his overall demeanor, his attitude, his approach on how he challenged the boss, he had no fear about that. He didn't even have fear about dying. He just wanted to protect the animals. And then we see how this boss pulls out some sort of like a detonator and he threatens to pretty much self-destruct the entire ship and kill everyone on board, in which Goku was a little puzzled by this because he realized like, oh, he's not bluffing, he's really gonna do it. And in which shortly after we see how he presses the button and everything pretty much explodes. Now, here's the one thing that caught my attention. Beerus is sleeping, Beerus is dreaming, Beerus dreams of Goku dying. Now, this could be some sort of an omen, this could be some sort of a sign or revelation for Beerus in possibly predicting what may happen later on, because he wakes up as we all predicted in last week's prediction video. Beerus wakes up and he notices that this is something serious. I mean, he's in panic, and I love his overall demeanor, and Whis is with him. And weirdly enough, the very scene where we saw the entire ship blow up was actually Beerus' dream, but I still feel as if Beerus is truly, you know, a little worried about Goku dying because remember, all of his energy, all of his time, all of his patience is going within Goku. So you get to see how Beerus, he's triggered by this, even though it's a dream of Goku dying. Without Goku, Universe 7 is in grave danger. So we go back to the ship and, you know, unlike the dream that he just had, you know, we see this boss, he's holding on to the detonator and he's telling 17, I'm gonna do it. And 17 says, son Goku, I will leave the rest to you, take care of the animals and my family. And 18. So Goku thinks like this guy is really gonna pull the trigger and he's gonna kill 17, when in fact, I mean, he is gonna try to do so, but 17 is acting as if he's gonna die, which to me didn't really make any sense because how is he gonna die via explosion of this magnitude? I just found that to be a little dumb on my end, but 17 was actually willing to do so because he charged right at the dude and they went through the window. And we see how Goku's getting pushed out into space, and this is space we're talking about here. I mean, Goku becomes a Super Saiyan Blue, and you know, it's weird because Saiyans aren't really known to breathe in space, and we see artificial human number 17 out there as well. Goku grabs both of them and he teleports to King Kai's world, and King Kai is like, poor King Kai, he's like, what the hell is going on? And finally Goku introduces artificial human number 17 to King Kai and saying, that this guy used to be bad and this other guy is bad and he's trying to self-destruct, so I brought him here. And which is funny is because King Kai is like, why is it every time someone's about to kill themselves, you bring them here? I mean, reminiscing to Cell when he brought Cell there, and we see how 17 is wondering as to where he is, with Goku having to tell him there's nothing to worry about, but we see how, you know, King Kai is just like, you can't bring this guy here because if I die, since I'm already dead, there's no way I can come back. Like, I'll be erased from existence. So I find that to be just pure hilarious, just to see how Goku always messes with King Kai, and we see how he finally pushes the button and, you know, confetti pops out. So he was lying. So to me, if you go back to Dragon Ball GT, that's what it reminded me of, because we get to see, you know, how this guy was bluffing the entire time. But the fact that King Kai was just so pissed at Goku for bringing someone here who was supposed to kill themselves, quote unquote, just made the episode that much better. And to see how towards the end of the episode is when the alien dude was just toying around. I mean, he was shaking out of his boots. I mean, obviously towards the end, all the animals were restored and, you know, everything was back to normal. And Jocko stops by to congratulate Goku for capturing the evil alien poachers, because apparently enough, Jocko was after them as well. And we get like this really nice shot of the animals coming out the spaceship, and we see how Jocko has like this galactic patroller like space tape all throughout like the spaceship. It was pretty cool to see. So overall, this episode wasn't high in intensity, it wasn't anything crazy. It was a very enjoyable episode, lots of humor and comedy and throwbacks to Dragon Ball Z, having the Minotaurs there, having to see everyone there. It was a very subtle moment, but again, if you want to look at the overall, you know, scope of what had happened, this convinced Android 17 to finally join. And we get to see how he even agrees to having Goten and Trunks look after the island, in which is going to raise some concerns, because how are you going to have the boys look after this massive island by themselves if they're not going to be toying around? So within the spaceship, we see all the space invaders. They're in cages, they're in boxes, and the alien dude is there as well. He's all chained up and stuff. So it was a really cool moment to see. Nothing crazy, but this definitely is going to be building up to the Tournament of Power, in which at least 17 was the only one so far to confirm what he would use the Dragon Balls for, and that's, you know, just wishing for like this big ship in which he wants to take his family out on a cruise all throughout the world. So it's a pretty nice thing to even see, because 17's selfless wish of wishing for a giant boat to take his family around is pretty cool. But I want to know your thoughts on this, because if there's one thing I didn't really understand was how momentarily we saw 17 and Goku floating in space. I understand that it must have happened so quick, but you know what are your overall thoughts on 17 and Goku having to be in space and having to just momentarily be alive up there without being sucked into the void of space? What are your thoughts on 17 having to say that it's weird working with Goku, when Goku even told him like, yo, it's fine, you know, Vegeta and Piccolo were working with me and they had the same motives as you did. So I thought that was really cool. A very throwback-ish kind of episode to like the good old days of Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. So post your comments down below, guys. What did you guys think of the episode? Because again, it was a very subtle episode. We had to get 17 onto the team, in which I think this episode did very well, is in executing and establishing that foundation, and 17 having to finally work with Goku. But post your comments down below. What are your overall thoughts on this episode? Did you guys prefer watching Goku fight 17 or Goku work with 17? What are your overall thoughts going forward in 17 having to join the Tournament of Power? And what are your overall expectations for next week's episode of Gohan and Piccolo having to train together, in which a lot of us are excited for, so I cannot personally wait for that. Thank you all for watching, guys. As always, if you guys are new to the channel, don't forget to go on ahead and hit that subscribe button on your way out. If you guys enjoyed the review, if you guys love Dragon Ball, be sure to go on ahead and slap a like down below. Tune back in for more. Also, guys, be sure to go on ahead and turn on notifications. That way you guys are always notified whenever I post a video on the channel. Thank you all for watching, as always, and I'll be seeing each and every single one of you guys down in the comment section below. Have a great night, guys. Peace.